Good evening and welcome to another Monday Night Live here from Precision Golf in the UK. Simon and I do this every week, 6 p.m. Take all your questions on golf equipment and golf coaching. Being streamed from Precision Golf and Good Golf Coaching. Exciting week of golf. Had a new winner on the European Tour, Dan Bradbury. Got over the line, tried to throw it in the soup a couple of times, but managed to stay dry.
Yeah, I mean, by about 3 inches on the 15th for his tee shot, and then he pushed his second shot, and he was trying very hard to gift one to the water gods on that hole, but and then binned the putt for a birdie. I mean, it seems quite a fun, like enjoys his game, like enjoys being out there, which is great to watch. So great win.
Yeah, full series in full swing on the PGA Tour. People trying to keep their card for a job next year. That always keeps it interesting. It's a funny year, funny end of season because you've got guys that are trying to bump themselves up into some slightly better rankings. Those guys that have already kept their card, but then you've got people that are, as I say, trying to keep their card. Don't get too many big names this time of year.
They already started the new season, did they, by Mary American one?
No, I don't believe so. I think the full season is still going on.
I thought this was part of that.
No.
This is the problem, isn't it?
That's right. So what they did was they changed it so that the FedEx Cup finals doesn't mean that when people don't qualify for the FedEx Cup, it means that those guys have a month off, get their games ready for the full season, and it actually ends calendar to calendar now.
I mean, who knew that the Tour Championship should not be the last event? I mean, there's all weird and wonderful stuff to me.
Connotations to it, but obviously you get a lot of guys that you haven't necessarily heard of. Doesn't make for hugely exciting TV, but when you get to the back end of the year, the real back end of the year, the last event, then it starts to get a bit juicy for people trying to keep their card. As usual, we've got both iPads in full flow, so do fire over any questions that you might want to have. Kate, our resident PT, was competing at the weekend.
Yeah,
you're going to run through a few achievements.
So our first Elite 15 major of the year. So what that means is that the top 15 guys and girls who qualified for this sort of Pro Series event, they compete against one another alongside another event, this time in Amsterdam. Now, Kate is pretty good at this anyway, but all the hard work's really paid off. She had a 4th place finish. And what she achieved by coming 4th, this one was an age category women's pro world champion back in 2023, and at the Worlds last year finished 6th in the Elite 15 and won the pro doubles, and was part of Team England mixed relay who won as well. Those are the World Championships. First time out this time, finished 4th in a time just a bit of kind of questioning about the timings, but just over an hour. So PB by a couple of minutes, which puts her as 4th fastest woman in history, world record holder for her age, a European record and a British record. So all in all, not a bad weekend, and won the pro doubles as well with Zara Perani, I believe is the pronunciation of her surname. A thumbs up from James, so that's pretty fluky Italian accent came out there. But yeah, brilliant weekend. Been training so hard, changed her training up. And it's really quite interesting changes to the way she's been training to achieve better fast pace, going at slower pace and things that I don't understand. But brilliant effort, and in Hong Kong in 5 weeks' time.
And clearly inspires people like Charlie, Georgia, trains. When you're walking the walk and talking the talk, it certainly helps. I think with what you do, when you're helping people with their equipment, the fact that you can play the game, it really gives a real sense of authority on it without sort of having to scream about it. But when you're playing off of scratch or better, as you do, and Kate's competing at a high level, when you're helping people, whilst it doesn't mean that you are necessarily a great coach, it certainly helps. And I think that's with the experience that we've got in the building, right? Whether it's the fitters, myself and Lewis with the coaching, the club builders, we've got so much experience and quite a high skill level. Not to blow our own trumpet here at PG, which is one of the reasons why we lead the way in club fitting and performance.
I reckon if there were golf star handicaps for high rocks, I reckon Kate's about +8.
Yeah, better than you and me.
Scary. I'm up about 15, 18, maybe 24.
Yeah. Well, as usual, we've got loads of questions to get through, so we're going to get cracking on that. Good God of Golf 888. Oh no, it's another week of 888s.
Triple eight.
What does heavy swing weight tend to do to launch characteristics, or is it all how it affects your delivery and dynamic loft?
Yeah, it's the latter. Heavy swing weight on its own just means that the club swings heavier at the bottom end proportionally. So for some players, a heavy swing weight will get the club behind them and then will recover it and kind of roll over the top, so deliver a lower loft and more of a more face rotation, so a stronger draw pattern. Others will kind of pull the handle more, work it underneath, add loft and more of a fade pattern. So it depends on the player as to how you're going to react, but ultimately just a slightly heavier bottom end to the club.
We've got some great new content loaded up on the Precision Golf YouTube channel. If you're a member, you get to see that nice and early. So if you want to support the channel and see our content super early, it's a nominal fee to see that, but there's a couple of videos up there. One of them is a great tip from Lewis, and the other one is you talking about the length of shaft for driver as well, which should be super interesting. I'm keen to watch that myself. Vision Force, what is the physics behind choking down like Anthony Kim and Brooke Henderson?
I think they did it as a habit when they were, when we're younger and shorter and smaller, and you get, back in the day, we didn't have all of this stuff with junior equipment, so you had to just either grip down a club that was too long for you to get comfortable, or you get clubs that you're going to grow into, so you had to grip them down. So I think it formed for those players likely as part of just a clubs being too long for them and gripping to somewhere comfortable. However, by gripping down it, you're shortening the distance between your hands and the club head, therefore you're shortening the lever length, therefore the head will swing lighter. It lightens the swing weight essentially. But that's all it does.
I think we need a dog cam, James, because we've got Barney down here. He's having a sleep sometimes.
Looks like he's found a stone.
He's found something that he's chewing on down there. I don't know what it is. We've got a little echo on Simon's mic. We apologise for that, but it means you get to hear Simon a couple of times, all in quick succession. We've had a question in from Alien Blob 21. How to choose between a Callaway AI Smoke Heavenwood and 7-wood.
So the Heavenwood is a 7-wood loft, but at a 4-wood shaft length. This is kind of the principle of it. So the higher loft for more flight, but a lighter head weight to build the shaft longer for more club speed. So it's kind of halfway house between a 4-wood and a 7-wood. It's still going to fly like a 7-wood. Swinging it, having it longer means a bit more club speed, might mean a few yards more, but it's not going to change the pitch of flight. So if you're looking for consistency, play the 7-wood length. If you're looking to squeeze a few yards more out, then the Heavenwood will do that for you.
Very good. Ah, perfect. Alien Blob also goes on, how to decide to play 4-iron or 9-wood.
Now, James, with this, do I need to speak into Stuart's mic? Okay, right. So, forward and 4-iron, now I did see this question, we saw this come in earlier, so I've prepped. It's a ball flight thing, and potentially, depending on your delivery, if you're someone who picks it more, a long iron is hard to flight and get carry distance on, and a fairway wood is easier to catch. And I'm going to hit a couple of shots just to demonstrate the differences in ball flight and what can happen if you're someone who kind of sweeps it off a little bit more, and why the 9-wood might suit you more than a 4-iron in that instance.
Very good. Like the sound of that. Got a bit of new tech or new update for TrackMan, Simon?
Yeah, they've done, it's the software number 10, and particularly in the virtual golf, the graphics are incredible. In the range setting, in the data capture side of things that we use, it hasn't really changed too much.
Yep.
But certainly when you go into the virtual golf, there are some sort of slight changes to the range setting, but in the virtual golf, it's absolutely incredible.
Is it?
Yeah, the way the water now just moves, the time of day, the shadows change.
Oh, really?
Representative to the amount of time the round takes. Yeah, very, very clever.
Oh, fantastic.
So generally, the 4-iron is for a higher speed player that's looking to keep the right down and forwards. So I've played, always played a 4-iron. If I can move properly, let's see. So relative to the loft, it actually keeps the flight down and forward. So that shot there, 30.5 launch, 4.2 on spin. There's enough spin to keep it in the air and to get some kind of descent angle, which actually is a number of people like to see. So I'm going to add that one on there. It's very, very relevant. So that shot there, land angle of 44 degrees. That's got some stopping power on it. 205 yards carry, not bad. I'll take that for the first swing out the gate. And height-wise, that's another number I'm going to stick on here. Height 97 feet. Now, if I switch to a 9-wood, same loft, but the weight sits a lot further back. It's a lighter crown and it sits lower relative to the ball, so it's going to get under the centre of the ball earlier and get it up in the air a lot quicker. So the longer shaft length also gives more club speed as well. So if I hit 9-wood here, got that a little low on the face, but you can see from the picture flight there, it's a 15.5-degree launch, spun at 6,000 revs. Now, this is not a club that's practical for me and playing golf over here. So ironically, it wasn't struck great. That's carried less than my 4-iron because it's got so much backspin on it. But if you've got lower club speed and therefore lower spin, then this kind of club could be great for getting it up in the air. That's got 126 feet in height and landed at best part of 53 degrees. So it's gone up almost 30% more in terms of flight height. So you choose a lofted wood to get as much launch as quickly as possible, with as much ball speed as possible, and as much stopping power as possible. And you pick the 4-iron to keep the flight down as much as possible relative to loft, and a hybrid would sit somewhere in the middle.
I think you make a good point about registering the land angle. I think people don't appreciate that you get to a point where spin and land angle have to collide to optimum to make the ball back up. And so if someone's looking for just lots and lots of spin, the land angle needs to be actually to an optimum to make that back up. Whereas you could have much less spin, have a much better land angle, and you'd get the ball to react on the green much better, wouldn't you? So you could have much less spin, have a land angle of 50, and all of a sudden you'd have the ball reacting really quite nicely on the green, wouldn't you? People tend to feel like it's all about loads of spin. Actually, getting the ball to be in control, and a good way to really appreciate it is that ball can have relatively no spin and it can land on itself. Yeah, if you're throwing a ball in at like 30 degrees, that thing's got to have so much spin on it to make it stop. Land angle is really underrated or undervalued, I think, for golfers.
Yeah, I mean actually, from a control point of view, it's better to have a steeper land angle and proportionally a little bit less spin, because then you're not risking. So that's always been my issue with
100%,
this. Well, it's now not going anywhere; it's just plugging when it lands. But and false fronts or greens, I've always spun them off.
Yep.
So for me, the 9-wood at that land angle of that spin is dangerous, because into wind it's just stalling, and the 4-iron's better for me. But if you can get around that 4,000 revs of spin at this sort of loft, then you're getting something that gives you some control when it lands, but not so much that it stalls the flight or backs up. So you can use both land angle and spin, but depending on what your launch angle is, one's more useful than the other. That makes it sound, I mean, it's not that complicated, but there are optimum levels for both aspects.
Yep. Good stuff. Nicely demonstrated as usual. I'm going to head over to my channel, Dr. Balaji. How do you prevent forward lunging during the downswing of driver and longer clubs? Good question. Well, lunging for the golf ball, really you're referencing lowering in height, which is really giving way with your legs. Now, understand that if with a longer golf club, the club gets too narrow on the way down, the distance between the head and the floor becomes greater. If someone was a caster of the golf club, you can see the club head is closer to the floor. So as soon as the club gets closer to the floor, golfers tend to want to pull up. When a golf club gets too narrow, golfers tend to want to go down. And it really can see it quite a lot in chipping. So when people get the heebie-jeebies with their chipping and they get too quick in transition, as they pull the golf club, the club head pops up and then they have to go down to it and the legs give way. And you see that with long clubs, driver, 4-irons. So what I would say to you to do is two things, is make some backswings and feel how you can widen the arc, which will make you feel like you can stay much taller through strike. That would be the first port of call. And then once you've done that a few times, then feel like you can actually stand up a bit more through strike. Actually feel like you're belt line is actually lifting off the ground, because that will then give you the sensation that you can widen the arc of the club head without feeling like you're going to run into the ground. So once you break the mechanism of the club getting too narrow in your downswing, your legs won't give way and cause you that feeling of lunging to the golf ball. So work on the arc first, and then think about pushing up off the floor second. Those two things will completely kill off your lunging.
You've been watching my wedge game, haven't you? It's not quite that bad, but it's not pretty.
But yeah, no, but I think the wedge game is like that, right? And we get close to the floor, we get close to the chips. Yeah, right. I mean, being in control of the bottom of the arc is a killer.
That kind of handle lead, that looks oh so familiar.
Yes, absolutely. Now we've got a lot of questions coming in, which is great to see. Lots of people watching, so thank you so much for checking in. I've just seen my sister log online, and I can only worry that Gary's going to join us in a minute, and all hell's going to break loose. Kevin T, he was polite, but he's a bit on the millers this week, and you know, it all gets a bit loose. Just joking, Gary. Kev T, good evening to you both. Good evening to Kev. Nice to have you with us. Would you recommend the same shaft for driver and 3-wood? We get this question a lot.
Yeah, answer is almost always not, because the heads are different sizes. You want them to do different things. We don't need, in a driver, you want a more structure, a little more stable in the main to hold on to the club head through impact. If you misstrike it, there's more twisting because of the distance of the mass from the shaft. So a stiffer profile often in the driver, and in a fairway at a softer profile, they get a bit more kick. Don't automatically go in the same shaft in driver and fairway wood, even if you're changing the weight, because it might not work for you.
Very good. Papa B asks, hello young men.
Polite man.
I know, he is Papa B. I hit my irons fine, but keep hitting my chips and pitches out near the toe. Even when I feel like I crowd the ball it keeps happening. Please save me, Stuart. Quite an easy one to fix. Understanding, let's take one of your wedges there, Simon. Let's take another golf club. Crowding the golf ball doesn't really do it for you, because ultimately what you're feeling when you unload your chip is you're really feeling like the golf club when it goes from a set position in your backswing. So set this way from a face-on perspective. When it now gets unloaded from that pitch, you're unloading it with the handle too much on top of the club head. And so what you're doing is effectively you're lifting the handle up, and if you register where the club head is, and I now lift the handle towards the sky, can you see how the shaft stands up and pulls the club head in the sweet spot towards you? So what you actually need to do is you need to do the opposite. You need to feel like you can start to create more forward bend. But at the same time, as you do that, you need to move the handle closer to the floor. Again, at the same time, you need to feel like the club head is coming up, because effectively now what we're doing is you're going to start pushing the handle closer to the floor, which will push the sweet spot more out to the golf ball. And in doing that, you'll now catch the golf ball more out the middle of the club. So a great feeling to do that is get the golf club horizontal, parallel to the floor. Make some swings of a chipping motion. So you just make a little chip shot on that length of backswing and through swing up at this height. And now all you're trying to do when you're doing that is you're just trying to keep the shaft parallel to the floor. And what you'll feel is the club head trying to pull itself to the ground and try and push the club head up. And the way you're going to stop that from happening is by using your hands to lever against each other to lift the head up. So now you're able to feel like the pad of the hand and the right hand are keeping the club head up. Now all of a sudden when you're doing exactly the same thing, you're going to feel like you're going to feel a bit more pressure in the handle so that the club head can swing a bit more out in front of you. So it'll actually return the club further away. That will fix toe strikes immediately. Long-winded answer, but a worthy one. A worthy one, because it really, a toe strike with chipping is so common. I was actually on a show last week, David Howard, talking about hitting it out the toe. He had a bit of a problem with that. You know, when you get that toe strike, understanding the height of the handle and the angle of that shaft as it returns, it goes from setup back to impact. If it goes up this way and you're super close to it, doesn't matter how much you stand towards the ball, you're just going to keep on inverting that shaft. So really important to change.
Very good.
Toe strike. What have we got? Chris Johnston watched your build a downswing video earlier and had a ball striking masterclass in a skins match this afternoon. Legend. You are welcome. My usual commission is 8%. I'll take 5.
I think you saved the main winning skin to the 18th and just saved them all up.
Absolutely. Now, skins is a hellish game if you're consistent, right?
Yeah.
You either need to be making eagles or picking your ball up and not getting off the tee, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a funny game like that. Chris Burgess, hi, Simon and Stuart. Good evening, Chris. Are there any rumours of new blades coming out? And do you think Cobra will go into full production of the 3D printed clubs?
I think the 3D printed ones may take to get to the production levels and the costing where it would need to be for that. That might take a little longer, but I can see that coming, if not this next year, pretty soon down the line, because that's clearly something that they've invested heavily in, and it works. It was a really well designed club head. Blade wise, inevitably Titleist will launch something in the not too distant future, because the 620s have been out a couple of years now. There's probably a JPX Tour style head launching next year from Mizuno. Pointless head considering they've got the MPs, but they'll probably do that. There won't be many though, I wouldn't have thought.
There's close to 100 of you on this evening. Do give us a like, share and subscribe while you're here. We'd love to keep growing the channel, so do give us a little bit of a like. That'd be hugely appreciated. Charlie March, I'm currently playing Wilson Staff model blades, looking to change to something with forgiveness. I'm quite picky on looks, needs a slim, rounded top line with much offset. Any recommendations? I could have gone all sorts of places with the comment like that.
Without much offset?
Rounded top line with not much offset. Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's a kind of head where, depending on how much forgiveness you want, Cobra, the King Tour as an iron head, it's a very soft feeling head for one, but that's quite a neat head shape with a bit of a rounded top line. So you've been quite particular there. So there aren't going to be that many that actually give you something worthwhile having back. You could say like a Titleist CB, but that's basically still a blade. The MP243 is not too far off as well. Those are the two that jump to mind. Titleist have kind of a slightly more angled top line, so that's why I haven't gone to those. But I think the Cobra would be a good shout to try.
As I said, my sister's in the house. James has nicely replied to my sister. Last week, James did that, and I didn't realise he could access a message from my account, and I shat myself because I thought someone had hacked into my account and was taunting me at the same time. So good to have my sister along. Andy Corso, hopefully echo on sound. Hopefully we've fixed that to some degree. Andy Corso, wanting a 6-wood, would it be better to buy a 5 and loft up, or buy a 7 and loft down using shaft adapters? Obvs for Simon.
Yeah, it depends what you want the face angle to be. If you want something more draw bars, then use the lower loft and loft it up, because that turns the toe in a little bit. It draw bars, it closes the face slightly. And if you want something a bit more neutral or fade bars, then go to the higher loft and turn it down. It depends on what model as well. So a Titleist, you can only drop the loft by about 1/2 degree. So you're going to struggle to get to a 6-wood loft from a 7-wood, whereas some of the others will have a degree and a half's worth of plus or minus, depending on the hosel system. So that would be another aspect.
We've got a bumper show coming over Christmas. Rumours are, could be a lot of guests. It could be a who's who in the studio, and it might even be a couple of hours.
We can't do that. We won't be involved in that.
Well, if it's a who's who, we can play cameo roles. Yeah. We might be dressed as Morecambe and Wise, Rudolph and Santa. Who knows? James, I don't know what you're coming as, James. Any ideas? A Yule.
I'll tell you, if we're dressing up, he's dressing up.
A Yule log. Oh my goodness. Barney is the little reindeer, definitely the little reindeer. So do stay tuned for that. Also, our Costa Navarino trip that I talked about last week, we run it in May. 4 teams, not 5. 4 teams, I thought 5 last week.
Well, if we get loads of people, we might have to make it.
Make it 5. Got Henny Koyak as a team captain, Roger Chapman, myself, Lewis, and
that's 4.
That's 4. Yeah. And so if you want to be a part of it, I know. If you want to be a part of it, do drop me an email, stuart@precisiongolf.co.uk, and we can get you hooked up for a team and to enjoy us in the sunshine. So do give us a shout.
Well.
Yeah, it's going nicely, Tim G, question for Simon. Gen 1 TZ6 VS. Oh, versus Gen TZ6. Gen TZ.
Gen 2.
No, Gen 1 TZ6 versus Gen 2 TZ6. What are the differences between the two? I.e. profile, relative stiffness, swing weight effects during build, etc.
Okay, so Gen 2 is a little bit lighter. So the bend profile principles are the same, stable through the midsection, responsive tip, low torque kind of principles, which the 6 series is meant to have a little more launch, and because the TZ5 is more tip stiff and lower launch in principle. So the profiles are very, very similar, but the Gen 2 is a little bit lighter by about 2 or 3 grams. And swing weight's a little bit lighter as well, so it doesn't swing quite as tip heavy. Therefore, it's going to might feel a bit more responsive, might not feel quite as stout, but spin-wise very good and probably a smoother feel as well.
I've just had an idea. The Christmas show, 2 hours, we do it live. Well, we're doing it live anyway, but we get a live audience.
Revolutionary.
We get a live audience. If you live in Surrey, you live in the south, and you fancy joining us for
mince pies.
Absolutely.
I can't do mulled wine because everyone have to drive.
The only
home.
reason why I've just said that is my sister's coming over and she wants to come in and.
Well, that'd be one person.
Yeah, well, at least you've got.
If you bring Gary along as well, you'll be in.
He'll have to fly over from the US. Yeah. Got James, we got Barney, we got Suzanne, and at least us two. So if you fancy it, drop us a line and we'll set the date. Because that'd be fun. That'd be fun. Tim G, we answered. Alex Mackay, is the NS Pro 1050X too light for someone swinging at 90 plus with a 7-iron?
No. I mean, the answer is it might be, it might not be. It's too light for some, it's too heavy for others. Ultimately, the 1050 GX in an X is a sort of 111, 112 gram shaft. So it's not that light, but it depends who's swinging it. Unfortunately, is the only answer I can give you.
Good answer. Matt M, audio a bit dodgy for anyone else. Audio is echoing. The audio is loop, lads. Daniel Winterbottom, I think we're fixing that as we speak. Hi, gents. I got my brother trying new drivers, managed to get him 6 miles an hour ball speed and 15 yards. What would optimum ball speed, launch and spin would be around 77?
So it's going to depend on your angle of attack, ultimately, to determine what the optimum launch and spin is. If you're at 77 miles an hour, club speed, ball speed's going to be around about 110, 108. So you're going to want some launch, so if you hit up on it a lot, you want more launch and you can cope with less spin. But generally, spin around 2.5 to mid to upper half of the 2000s will guarantee good carry. As long as you get a launch angle around 14, 14.5, that should get decent carry. If you go higher carry and a bit lower spin, that will total a little bit more. So if you play someone with a bit of ground help, then lower spin and higher launch will optimize run out. But generally, 14.5 odd on launch and mid to upper half of the 2000s at that speed will give you a good all-round performance.
Very good. Matthew Gilston asks, Stuart, hi, how does one reduce spin on full wedge shots? Spin comes from angle of attack, dynamic loft at strike and club speed. Everyone has a slightly different delivery type. If you are a hook grip player, you'll be on the lower end of spin rates. If you're a weak grip player, you'll tend to be on the higher spin. So there are kind of 4 ingredients that really apply to reducing spin. But if you want a foolproof way to reduce spin rates on shots, you need to get better at hitting softer shots for the distance. So if you're playing at 60 yards and you're used to playing your 56, practice hitting 60 yards with your 52 or your 54, because ultimately you're carrying it the same distance with less loft, less spin, so therefore the ball will have a little bit more control. Any words of wisdom?
Yeah, you can use ball.
Yeah.
If you really want to pair backspin, if you're playing, let's say go Pro V1, Pro V1 X, go to an AVX. That'll take spin off. You could lose as much as 1,000 revs of spin.
Is that right?
By switching ball, a cover that has less grip, it'll go straighter off the tee, and it will reduce spin in the wedges. So that would be another way of doing it, depending on what your priority is from an overall point of view.
Yeah, very good, very good. Doug, hi guys. Question for Simon. Have you hit the Wilson Dynapower carbon driver? If so, What do you think of it? Would you recommend as a value option from the major brands? If not, why not?
So it's not something I've done extensive testing with. We've got the iron heads in the drivers because we can't interchange any of our shafts. It's not something that's particularly good for us to get into the studio. Wilson are definitely making a heck of an effort with the golf clubs. They're definitely putting a push forward. I've had sight of a club head that hasn't left the embargo yet that Lewis has seen as well, which looks really interesting.
It's nice.
And it looks a really nice head, and they're definitely making good strides. And certainly from a value point of view, Wilson are part of Amos Sports, which are a huge company, massive in basketball, massive in baseball, and the resources at their hands, at their fingertips are vast. So if they decide to make a push in golf, then then they will do something decent. So I'm interested to see, actually going to be seeing some of their products in a couple of weeks' time and get a look at next year's products with their rep in the studio. So, but I think, for us, it's the practicality, the fitting side of it. If we can't interchange the shafts into it, then it doesn't really work for us in that respect, but hopefully they can find a solution.
Very good. Dr. Balaji, how can we re-review all of the Q&As for today? When you play the video back, as far as I believe, you'll see all of the questions down the right-hand side once you press the play, and then you'll get all of the latter comments down the bottom. So that's how you should be able to re-review that. Papa B.
But I'll be just for the channel that you're on.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Papa B, Stuart, you are a golf Jedi master. I just did what you said, and the toe strike is gone. I even caught a chip near the heel. You're the best.
Maybe we're doing a Star Wars themed Christmas too. You never know if you're a Jedi.
Yeah.
It's coming as Darth Vader. So if you don't want to come as Jabba the Hutt, that's
no,
not really.
it's definitely not. Definitely not anybody would want. Charlie March, any tips for fitting that could help to encourage an in-to-out path? I'm grinding with lessons, but looking for any marginal gains with equipment.
If you're playing something that's too light, then that's going to be hard for the club to drop in for you. So if you haven't got much weight at the bottom end of the club or in the club itself, if it's very light, then as you start the downswing, it's going to want to get. You're not going to throw it over the top like that. The club's not going to want to drop in. So something with a bit more weight in the bottom or a bit more dead weight will actually help to create that bit of a drop, which might help deliver it from the inside a little bit more. But this very much might help. It's not a definite.
Very good. Very good.
It's like most things fitting.
Yeah, definitely maybe. Yeah. Stu 60. Hi chaps, what is your view on wedge shafts in terms of weight and flex compared to irons? Should I look for the same or go for a wedge flex?
So wedges, people like to play softer flex in wedges to get more feel. You're not working the shaft as hard, there's less swing speed, so you're not loading it as heavily. So to not have the shaft feel dead, players will often go to a softer flex. Wedge shafts are often designed softer in the tip for exactly that reason. 50% of the time, well, actually probably 30 to 40% of the time, we might keep weight the same. If you're someone who has quiet arms and more body rotation, then heavier often doesn't work. So keeping weight constant is quite good for that kind of player. But then a lot of players, when you take the speed out of the swing and that acceleration, we're not looking for the club to come with you as you get fast. We're looking for the club to drop down to the ball, hence a slightly heavier shaft. Probably 7 to 10 grams more on average, then helps just the partial swings and helps the timing.
How come you've got no grey hair?
Just for men. No, it's in there somewhere. It's in there somewhere.
I mean, if I got all the grey hair for all three of us,
you never know.
Yeah.
I'm not growing one of those, so I look like a fool.
Kevin Phillips, how would you describe the player profile that fits steel fibre, specifically 110 or 110, if it makes a difference? Thanks.
Yeah, so steel fibres play quite stout. The graphite core with the steel filament around the outside. So the core of the shaft is very stable. So if you want something that's mid to upper mid balance, but plays very stout and therefore is tip stiff and therefore is fairly low spin, it's never going to be massively low spin, then they're a great shaft for that. So if you find some of the steel shafts swing a little bit club head heavy, then the steel fibre is a bit of a bridging point into an all graphite at those sort of upper end of the graphite weights.
Wonderful. Will.M. Are stock graphite sets a ½ inch longer than stock steel sets? Can't find the graphite specs on the OEM website.
Quite often they are a little bit longer, purely because they don't want to use a different head weight, and to keep the swing weight, to keep some feel of the club head and to keep swing weight in a kind of a standard profile, they will often make them a little bit longer. And generally, if you're going to graphite, most people have a slower speed, so they think, well, longer shaft, more club speed. So you'll generally find them a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch longer. But it does vary a little bit brand to brand.
Daniel Winterbottom says, I like the 9-wood segment. I'm high speed but low launch and spin, so I play 7-wood, then go to the 5-iron, but 4-iron comes out for links.
Yeah, and it's about just finding the tools that suit you. It might be that a more wood-like hybrid, something like the TSR1, as a hybrid, it's like a small fairway wood. That might control spin better for you than a heavily lofted wood. So have a look at both options and see what flights it best for you. But yeah, 4-iron, if you're a low launch, will come out like an extra set, and a lofted wood will get out of your nostril.
My sister says, yes, you do. I don't know whether that's to you use just for men or whether I should start.
I think that's the Star Wars thing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, no, don't. We can't watch the Star Wars. That would be brutal. John is, John, this is why I use a 7-wood triple diamond. It's perfect. He was referencing Daniel Winterbottom's comment.
Yeah, so a low spin head with the loft, so you keep the spin in control.
Yeah, high launch and lowish spin. Mr. Tightless, evening gents. That's a great handle. I don't know how he's got Mr. Tightless. That's a fantastic handle. He must have joined YouTube right at the very start. Yeah. Evening gents, any thoughts on Tensei 1K blue 55 gram stiff shaft? Was recently fit into this at my GT fitting. First time a Tensei shaft seemed to work for me. Thank you.
Was it the 1K Pro or the 1K? So the
1K blue
is, yeah, I mean, the Tensei series is a good all-round shaft. There's the Pro series, which we have on the wall here. And then the 1K series, which is more the kind of the AV, it's more their kind of entry level. But yeah, the good shafts. Mitsubishi make great shafts, and ultimately, yeah, if it works, then great, game it. It's not overly harsh profile in the blue series. It's a sort of mid-launch, mid-spin, very versatile profile. So yeah, great all-round shaft.
My sister was referring to the question from Dr. Balaji about reviewing the Q&As from today. When you play it back, you'll see them down the right-hand side.
Dr. Zhivago when you say that.
I know.
It says something about my level of intellect, which is far greater than it actually is.
Yes. Dr. Zhivago. Finn Radcliffe, hi guys. How would you change your bag setup for winter golf, if any?
So this winter, my driving irons out and 5-woods in. Having played weekend before last, I quite like having a club that I can collect off the fairway, pick it off real easy, stick it up into orbit and carry it a long way. 2-iron driving I'll be back in once the ground firms up, or if you get a windy day. But yeah, it's just from a flight and carry point of view, that's really easy. So for me, that would be my only change.
I'd be controversial here. I would play a fade more in the winter rather than a draw in the summer. Fade tends to have a bit more flight and a bit more spin and a bit more carry. The draw tends to come in a little bit lower, a bit hotter. So you're playing a little bit more on the ground. That for the sort of the masses. So that's I would tend to play with
the fade will carry more because you're low spin.
Spin, yeah, exactly.
For me, the fade will stall up and go nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
But the other option is just play less golf because the weather's horrible.
Yeah, just I can't.
We've just done a video about layering up and up to 5 layers. So it's a slightly less serious one, but there is a serious message behind it. So depending on when if that's already live, have a watch of that and take a few notes of how the swing speed changes and the effect on performance.
I don't think that's been uploaded yet, but
it's coming soon.
Yeah, it's coming soon. Yeah, it's coming soon. Phil Thomas, for a newish player, well, welcome to the game, first of all. Approaching the swing consistency where I'm now considering a fitting. Is being fit prematurely a real risk, or best to book in and see if new clubs are appropriate? Thanks. This is a question that we get asked a lot, and this is a great answer that's coming your way.
So, I mean, the answer is there's never a bad time to get fitted, because at the very least you get a benchmark of what you've got, how suitable it is for you, and what's doable at that time. A really skilled fitter will be able to say, right, this is where you are now, I can see where your swing's going, and we can challenge you a bit, and we can pitch it so that in 6 months' time or in 3 and 4 months' time, as the swing continues to develop, your best swings are going to be your average, so we can fit you for that. And that's something that we do here quite a bit, but it depends where. If you're making swing changes, then that's sort of that can affect it a little bit. But yeah, ultimately, if you're getting the consistency from your swing, now is actually a really good time to, let's say, at the very least, benchmark where your game's at and see, right, what's doable, because there's either something tangibly a benefit there or not. And the only way of knowing is to go and get fit.
Absolutely. Just had a question in from Charlie on my channel. Cannot hinge the club. Any help, please? Most of the time, when someone can't hinge the golf club, is because the club face is coming into the golf ball too closed. So check out my grip series on my channel that you are watching from. Go check that out. Check your grip. Be pedantic about the grip. Honestly, if you get a good grip, it will make a huge amount of impact to your game. So most notably the left hand.
Why do I not like the way James smirked when he handed this over?
No.
Live Christmas show idea from Josh Wright. I'm sure Stuart is regretting saying it live, but he put it out there on tonight's Monday Night Live that getting a few YouTube viewers physically live into the studio may be possible. If it is, I would like to put my hand up. I regularly ask questions on the channel. I had a wood/driver fitting with Nick earlier this year, and live up the road in Surbiton. Hope you don't get swamped with emails over this now.
Well, there's the first one. We hope to too. We've got plenty of room. Probably fit close to 100 people in here as audience. So the more the merrier. We'll find a date.
Yeah. Well, in December.
Yeah.
That's the easy bit.
Yeah, no beep Sherlock. Yeah, we'll get that on it. If you do interest, email us either Stuart, Simon or James at precisiongolf.co.uk. Simon,
if it goes well, we'll have to cap it at the first X amount of people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so if you fancy it, we'll set that up.
That'll be interesting.
That will be interesting. Why are so many pros This is from John. Why are so many pros starting to switch to graphite shafts in their irons? Is it because of Bryson's success? I always thought graphite was mainly for slower swing speeds. I'm in a KBS Tour X for years.
Not that many are switching in the grand scheme of things, but ultimately graphite, there are more layers, so actually structurally it's far more stable than steel proportionate to weight. That's why you saw graphite for slower swingers, because you can get graphite lighter than steel. So like we've got a graphite shaft on the wall that's iron shaft that's 40 grams. Steel, the lighter, you can get a 65 gram, but there's no structural strength there at all, and they tend to break. So tour players, someone like Bryson's using it because it's absolutely rigid. And actually you can do more with the bend profile because you've got, goodness knows how many layers of graphite. You can wrap them in different directions. You can affect the profile. The zonal stiffness is far more easily manipulated with graphite. So you can do more with the profiles. The balance point can get a little bit interesting, but they are improving that year in, year on year. But for someone like Bryson, it's rigidity.
Need to have something firm in his hands.
Big and firm, yeah, thick grip.
Anyway, moving on. Tim G says, thanks, lads. Chris Burgess says, Simon, blue and green never should be seen. Driver 108 miles an hour. Why do TT 100 regular give me such good results?
I don't know, this is probably mint.
It's more mint, yes.
But
you look beautiful.
At least my lower half isn't disappearing as I walk.
Yeah, you look beautiful. Don't worry about that.
So I was focusing on colour.
You know who Chris Burgess is, don't you?
I know the name.
He's the isn't he the Yorkshire
the Yorkshire Blade.
The Yorkshire Blade. He stopped putting it in because I don't read it out anymore. But I thought I'd read it out because you haven't put it in.
So the
TT 100 regular give me such good results.
Ultimately, the weight and the balance just suits the way you move. So I play a 90 odd mile an hour club speed. I play a soft step stiff 110, 111 gram steel because it just allows me to move naturally and time it. And that's why that shaft will work for you, because it allows you to move cleanly, functionally, balanced, and therefore deliver the club consistently. So sometimes we shouldn't overthink why something works. If it works well and consistently, then it suits you. And that's what we're all looking for.
Doug says health and safety are just blown a fuse because the thought of 100 people slipping and sliding around on mince pies.
Oh, you mentioned elf and safety at Christmas, isn't it?
Elf, oh God.
That's one of James's.
Has anyone had a hot mince pie yet?
No.
Have you, James?
They weren't called mince pies, they were called festive pies.
While you were away. Really?
Wow.
Did you have some?
Yeah.
Did you?
Four.
I mean, once you break the seal on that, it's the end of the world.
Fruit cake, Christmas cake, I cannot stand.
Can you
Christmas
not?
I can't do Christmas cake. Hideous.
Oh,
Stolen's good. Stolen's good, but yeah, it goes
That's
straight to that roll there. That's Stolen.
straight to the
Yeah,
guy.
I can't do Christmas cake. Horrid stuff.
Horrid
It's
stuff.
like sherry, work with the devil.
Yeah, sherry. I had a bad session on sherry. Anyway, we won't talk about that one. Neil's Atkinson, Simon's
Sister
mic is off.
probably
Yeah, Joe. Yeah. Joe O. Doug. Hi guys, love my new clubs. Let us know what your real name is, and then we might know who you actually are. But we're glad that you do like them. Best I have played in a decade. Fantastic. Thoughts on larger grips for finger pain, or am I practicing too much? laugh out loud. Thanks, Joe D.
Yeah, I mean, if you have joint issues, then the smaller the grip is, the tighter you've got to close your fingers down, and the more pressure you're putting on your joints. So, someone with arthritis or joint pain, a bigger grip means less pressure, means softer muscles and less pressure on your joints. Therefore, there's less strain on your hands, and that's only going to be a good thing. It's a bit like if you've got tennis elbow or forearm issues. It's probably down to having the grip on too tight.
Very good, very good. Daniel, no, Finn. Finn Radcliffe. Hi guys. In one of Bryson's videos he released the other day, he showed a new driver he's made with LA Golf, saying it's the future of golf. Any idea what it is besides the bulge and roll stuff?
There is a tech webinar that I'm going to be on tomorrow at 5 p.m. So I'm going to learn a little bit more about the principles behind it. It's very low loft, and I'd like to have that webinar before I comment on any of the details, just because then it'll come from the horse's mouth from their designers.
Very good. Daniel Winterbottom. What would be a good driver wood shaft for someone who likes it firm in handle with release like Modus 130? Currently use hazardous red in woods.
Ventus TR red would be a good one for that, certainly. Stable handle, responsive tip. Actually, it's not overly harsh on the handle end, but the new GC graphite design, that's good for that as well.
Like it. Niall McCloskey. Can shaft weight and profile in irons affect attack angle? Always have been a picker of the ball and struggle to take a divot. Thank you.
Profile won't affect it in the slightest, because how the shaft bends isn't going to affect what angle of attack you deliver and where your low point is, but weight and weight distribution most certainly will. So if you're someone who struggles to get down to the bottom of the ball, this isn't a definite, but in principle something with a bit more weight in the bottom end of the shaft without being too heavy total weight might help. Reason being for that is that, I'll stand back here too.
Like it.
Is that if the handle's heavy, it's not going to come with you, so as you turn, it's going to get behind you, then you're going to flip at it. But if the handle end's a good weight and on the lighter side, you can keep the handle accelerating. If you've got a heavier tip end, it can help to create a little bit more lag, move the low point forward a little bit. Yeah. That isn't going to fix it for everybody, but that might help.
Yeah. Lighter in the handle, heavier in the tip.
Head weight, slightly heavier swing weight. Yeah.
Very good. John, as a single handicapper, what setup would you recommend for versatility? Currently considering driver, forward, 7-wood and 4-to pitching wedge in irons, but tempted by a mini driver and worried about the high launch in the wind.
The mini drive is actually launched a lot stronger. If you're in the 11.5, certainly with the Callaways you've got a lot of experience with, if you're in the 11.5 and loft it down, it's actually quite a strong flight. It's low spin. However, if you're playing forward 7-wood, then I wouldn't suggest you're a high launcher of the ball anyway. So, but the 11.5 in the Callaway with the heavy weight forward, lofted down one, I doubt you're going to hit that high.
Very good. Tony, by the way, evening gents, great show. Struggling with pushing putts with my Scotty Cameron 11.5. Well, let me tell you, I've just got myself a new putter and I forgot to thank James for ordering it. Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that in a minute. Slight toe hang. Recommend.
It's just tripled in price.
Do you know what? I had a 3-putt yesterday. I've gone right off it. Slight toe hang. Recommendations on how to feel to release the putter or better with a different putter style?
So a toe hang, the 0.5 denomination on the Scotties means that's the short neck, which is...
That's what a toe hang looks like.
A different head style altogether, but short neck being something more like that, with the short hosel there. And the reason that creates toe hang is if you extend the shaft line into the head, it joins hosel side of the centre, therefore more mass sits outside of the shaft line, hence toe hang. And what that does is, as you accelerate, it essentially creates a lag and opens the face up. So a more face balanced putter, in principle, will help to, you haven't got to work as hard to square the toe up. So for anyone who misses pushes, I would say right, but if you're left-handed that doesn't count. If you push it, a more face balanced putter will help to square the toe up. If you over rotate and pull, then a toe hang will help with that. And possibly a slightly heavier grip. If the swing weight's a little heavy, again, that's going to leave the club head behind you. So a slightly heavier or thicker grip could possibly help as well.
Just to let you know, we do this every Monday night, 6 p.m. Simon, James and I are here. Barney is usually asleep down on the floor here with his legs in the air. If you want to join us, do check in, share it with your friends, and do like while you're here, because we love to have as many questions as you like. Simon and I will gladly hit balls and test anything you would like us to. So do that at your leisure. Joe Douglas is his name. I'm not sure if you did you fit Joe Douglas? No, can't remember.
Depends when. Not
yes,
sure.
no, exactly.
Definitely maybe.
Adam Corner. What wedge shaft pairing would be worth considering with Axiom 105S? Would soft stepping a 120X be an option?
The only thing with that, I mean, from a weight point of view, in theory, it's still quite a big jump up in weight. So that would be the only reason I might not do that, and that it's going to feel quite hard. I'd actually be more inclined to go into a steel, into the wedges, something like the Axiom swing relatively tip heavy. Ironically, something like a Modus 120 actually could complement that really well. You still get a bit of the tip stability, but you get the balance point and that extra sort of 7 or 8, 10 grams. Modus 115 if you want a specific wedge shaft, but that I think feels a little bit harder than the 120 does. I play the Modus 120 in my 56 and 60, so I think that could work really well with the Axiom.
Got another 8 minutes left, so get those questions in. We do like to get through all of them before we click off. Adam Corner, I've asked that question already. Paul M, hi boys. Simon, weight and feel difference between a Ping Alter CB stiff shaft and TaylorMade Ventus Red 5S, please.
So the CB55, I assume you mean. So actually Ping, that shaft isn't a counterbalance shaft. They put a little plug in the back end of it. It's about between 4 and 8 grams depending on the shaft. So the Alter, it was the Alter and the Hazardous Red. Was it Hazardous Red?
Alter CB Stiff and the Ventus Red.
Oh, Ventus Red.
Yeah.
So the Ventus naturally swings a little bit more, or the one that they use as a stock shaft swings a little bit more tip heavy. The Alter feels a bit softer in the middle, and the balance point is going to be, because of the plug in the back, swing a little bit higher up the shaft. So we'll swing lighter in the Alter CB, you might get a little bit more kick out of it, and the Ventus Red will swing more in the tip end, might feel slightly more solid because of that balance position, but both are not overly harsh in the tip.
There he is, Chris Burgess, the Yorkshire Blade. He's back. Nice. I like that, Chris. I like that, Chris. See how I reeled you in there? But anyway, I don't want to say that I reeled you in. Entertaining show, guys. Thanks, Chris. And thanks for being...
He's not going to say the Yorkshire Blade, though.
No, thanks for being a good sport as well. How much lower at P6 should the hands be in backswing? Videoing a lot of. How much lower at P6 should the hands be? Well, lower in the backswing relative to the takeaway. Is that what you mean? Come back and answer that, and I'll let you know. Tony, by the way, thanks. You're welcome. Craig, are Scotty Cameron putties really worth it? Good question. So many tour players use them. They aren't available, use ones that aren't available to the public. How are these different, and are they really better quality? How important is shaft?
So shaft, as with anything, is important from a balance and a weight point of view. There are a lot of variances in shaft weight, although most shafts in most putters, if it's a standard steel shaft around the 120 gram mark, there are some composites, but they will change the balance quite a lot. So it is important from that standpoint. The ones, the Prosy for the Scotty Camerons, it's a softer, it's a different material. It's a German stainless steel, a 303 stainless steel. So it's a slightly softer material, and yeah, they'll have a different hosel, different installation of how the shaft and the head go together. They might have a different alignment marking. They might have some custom stamping. So they will get that putter made to their requirements, and it'll do that for an amateur, but the amateur's got to pay several $1,000s to, or tens of thousands in some instances, to get it. Are they worth it? Ultimately, if they work and you enjoy using it and you feel it's good value, then it's worth it. But they're well designed, they're well made, they're classic shapes. They never reinvent the wheel, or they have done actually a couple of times in the past, but they are good quality, well made, well designed products, and you know, they have that brand positioning, which is why they charge that bit more.
Chris says yes, lower than the backswing. So the handle, if your circle is lined up straight-ish, your handle will invariably always be higher than your takeaway in your downswing. If you're trying to get your handle lower than the setup, then you are going to be severely from the inside. I wouldn't recommend that. That would be my take on that. Stephen Hodge, I think Simon's mic is off or incredibly low. Yeah, we had a few echoes earlier on, and that's why we just clicked his one off, and so Simon's coming out of mine at the moment. A few errors there. Dean B Golf. Hi guys, I'm playing a Windy Links tomorrow. Quick demo of knocking down flight. First of all, my first question, why are you playing links golf in the winter? I mean, it's hard enough in the summer, let alone in the winter, but we'll give you a little demo of knocking flight down.
Playing links golf on the 26th. So.
Are you really? Yeah. So I've got myself a 7-iron here. There are a few ways to knock down shots. The old-fashioned way is to drop the ball back in your stance. The trouble with that, you then start to meet the golf ball too much from the inside. If you understand that the arc of the golf swing, seeing as this was the last question, we've got a little bit of time. This is the arc of the swing. So you can see that those yellow balls are making the club head swing in to in. The more you drop the ball back in your stance, the more you're hitting it from the inside. So when you drop it back in your stance, what you then need to do is open yourself up to then orientate the circle so you meet it at the straighter point in the arc. So the circle now just was shifted to the left. That's when you drop it back in your stance. For me, I don't like that. I don't like that idea at all, because it makes it really awkward. Now it feels like I'm aiming a long way left and I'm feeling like I'm coming too much from the inside. I don't know how you feel about that.
Well, I historically always used to put it back, because that's what we did, and then of course, you know, now we know why I used to hook the Jesus out of everything unless I managed to hold it off. Yeah. I think I'm so used to doing it that way. Yeah. It's still. I
mean, you play off scratch, right? So it's a.
But I will set my feet a little open, the face a little open, and you know, try and make it very quiet with my hands through.
So what? Yeah, and that's, again, you'll find that when you talk to good players, they've got their own way of playing these knockdown speciality shots. A good way for you to do it would be to take the golf club and close the face over, and then take the grip, and then bring the club face back to straight. What that's now going to do is it's going to try and close the face over through strike. But what we don't want to do is actually close the face over and draw it. We want to feel like we can hold it off a little bit, which means that you can get the handle a bit more forwards. But with the club face now closing, it now will return back to straight, but with a little less loft. Now all you need to do is place the ball in the usual part of the swing, and now with that sensation you'll feel a bit more, as Simon says he feels it, a bit dead wristed through strike, and so you'll then be able to feel like you can hit a bit more of a dead arm shot lower with a little less spin and just push it out there a little bit like that.
I say one little thing that I see people do a lot, and I'm guilty of myself, is stopping on the ball. Is that thing of people, you know, we'll put the ball back, but then we'll also play this sort of sawn off kind of short follow through, trying to punch it in. The problem with that is you're stalling out and you're just going to wrap it around. So if I and hook it over, so I put the ball back in my stance a little bit, which is what most people do, but then try and play the sort of drive onto it and stop, then what happens is your body stops, club head's got momentum, it keeps going. So off it goes left. So as Stuart said then at the back end there, the key thing really is make sure you carry on through to a finish. It's softer hands, but it's finish the swing. It's not going to start left and go left. I mean, I'll draw it a little bit, but it's a much softer shot shape.
Yeah,
if you stop at it, then it's just ripping left before you know it.
Ultimately, you need to have some sort of club face coming back more closed than you started with, and that then gives you the opportunity to feel like you can hold it, which takes the loft down and knocks the flight down. So there's a couple of ways there for you to play that low knockdown shot. We've got last bit here. So we've got Steve, Paul M, Precision Golf Tournament. Who's winning at match play? Who's winning at stroke play? And who is the most likely loser? Well, let me tell you, Paul, my team won last year. Just saying.
Is this between the staff members?
Oh, Precision Golf Tournament. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good question.
Now, I reckon stroke play. Nick Scrutton's going to be quite tasty.
Yeah, he's tasty.
He's a
tasty player. Yeah.
one.
I mean, I think there's. I mean, look, Simon's off scratch. Mark Woodward can play a bit. I can play a bit. Lewis can play a bit. Nick can play a bit. I mean, James is no slouch. There's a lot of us.
James is blooming dangerous in match play off his handicap.
Off his handicap, yeah, and he gives it a good thump as well.
Chris, boom, as Asset calls him.
Chris, you're welcome. Hope it helps. Craig, this is great, guys. Any recommendations for a low spin driver with good forgiveness? I'm currently using the triple diamond, but it's too fade bias. RE link comment playing at St Andrews in March.
Well, triple diamond max. That's definitely more stable. Or the Ping, the LS Tech, the 430 LST. That would be another one. They're all going to be a little fade bias when you go to low spin, and none of them that forgiving. But those two probably give you the best of both worlds.
So final two questions of the evening from Cliff and Andy. Cliff says, evening gents, QI10 versus the GT2 differences in spin rates and forgiveness.
QI10's a little bit lower. Certainly from a heel strike point of view, I would give the GT2 a little bit more. I think that'll come out a bit more consistency. QI10 out the toe is going to be lower spin than the GT2. So I would say across the face, I think GT2 edges it, but QI10 is going to be a little bit stronger and potentially slightly longer when nutted.
And Andy Corso says, count me in for the live Christmas gig. So that's two and us three and the dog, my sister. So we're up.
The one packet.
Yeah, we're up to 6 and a doggy. So if you do fancy, in all seriousness, we're going to get some guests on the show for that Christmas. So it is going to be a great couple of hours on that one. If you do fancy, in all seriousness, Stuart at Precision Golf, James at Precision Golf, Simon at precisiongolf.co.uk. Email us, let us know you're interested. It's going to be sometime in December. We'll fix a date and we'll advertise it.
One of the Mondays.
On one of these Monday Night Lives. We'd love to have you along. It's been a bumper show again.
Good show, yeah.
Really good show. Listen, your
great questions.
Great questions, your interactions, they absolutely make it. James is not bad on the cameras and he's not bad with a bit of the information. So it's
juggling those.
Yeah,
very
it's
impressive.
Been very good. Very good. So thank you so much for watching. Busy week ahead for you?
Yeah, busy one this week. Lots going on, meetings. We've got lots of those meetings and lots of fittings, and yeah, keep me out of mischief.
Exactly. Yeah, plenty going on with the whole YouTube and coaching and everything that we're doing here. Do check out all of the content on Precision Golf. Really up the quality there, up the quality on Good Golf Coaching as well. So check out both the pages if you haven't done so already. We thank you for all of your support here at Precision Golf and on our YouTube channels. Thanks so much for watching. From Simon and I, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.